June 4th is 32nd years of a Tiananmen massacre have passed. Every day, people in China want to say, don't forget this day. Because of people want to mention about the Tiananmen massacre, write about it, talk about it, so they are arrested. In Hong Kong, this is the 32nd years, first time ever, the Chinese Communist Party regime stopped the Hong Kong people under its evil national security law. No one allowed to be in the Weiyuan Park in commemorate of Tiananmen massacre victims. And the CCP, afraid of people to let people to know what happened that day in Tiananmen Square in Beijing, China, that darkest day in the Chinese history. Tiananmen massacre killed more than 10,000 people. We shall never forget. Around June 4th, Tiananmen massacre anniversaries, people in the world, in commemorate of that day, protest against the CCP regime, and people shout, down with the Chinese Communist Party of China. We want freedom. From Seattle to San Francisco to LA to New York and Washington, D.C. and people in the world, all against this murder and massacre regime under the Chinese Communist Party regime. At the Liberty Sculpture Park in California, people got together and we commemorate of that day. Our outstanding Congressman Chris Smith have been supporting the Chinese democracy and human rights for 41 years. And he was a strong supporter of the Chinese democracy and freedom and human rights. So he received 2 times sanctions by the CCP regime. Just because he's the outstanding congressman who has such a great honor, sanctioned by the CCP regime twice. So we supported him ever strong and stronger and stronger, and we are working together. From San Francisco, the Chinese Democracy Foundation gave this outstanding great congressman award at the Liberty Sculpture Park, and Chinese Democracy and Human Rights Alliance to thank this great outstanding U.S. congressman and to thank him. And we couldn't say enough to appreciate this Congressman Chris Smith pushing for many different laws against the CCP human rights violation. And we shall never forget the June 4th Tiananmen massacre. We shall never give up we shall never forget Tiananmen massacre. We shall never give up on demand our freedom and human rights.
Hello, I'm Matthew Melton, KKNW host, here with my esteemed co-host. She's Jane Shohong Jen, and tonight we're here recapping our latest broadcasts on a live alternative talk radio KKNW in Seattle. You can find our link at 1150kknw.com. Also, you can listen live on Sunday nights, 6 p.m. on the radio if you're local, or on our Listen Live link. So, Jane has been talking about the Tiananmen Square Massacre. She is a Tiananmen Square Massacre survivor, and she's been speaking on my show for more than 3 months now. Also, she has decided to stay on full-time as co-host, and it's such an honor to have her. We are talking about the atrocities of Tiananmen Square Park, the Tiananmen Square Massacre, in hopes that they will not be repeated. Also, to alert Americans to the danger and the ever-present danger of the communist insurgency from Red China, namely the CCP. We're talking about Xi Jinping's communist regime. Now, these communists have had a boon since the Biden administration took a seat. They are experiencing relaxed laws and liberal policies that allow them to enter a country more easily and to travel around and to move secretly in the shadows. We can only assume what they're doing, and we are looking forward to doing an investigative series on just that. So, Jane, how do you feel about the CCP being able to send their agents into the United States of America with ease?
The Chinese Communist Party regime never stopped attacking the freedom world. We know the CCP regime sending spies to this country, and they do all kinds of ugly activities. In the media, they have their own show to attack freedom people, to attack the United States constitutional rights, and to divide and conquer our United States, this great nation. Ever since after January 6th, this country had open door policy. Welcome illegal immigrants, while legal immigrants have been waiting for years to proceed. We know the Chinese Communist Party military personnel have been entered to this country after January 6th. We know after our country established the relationship again since the President Nixon visited China, the Chinese Communist Party regime infiltrated this country more and more. What we know, for example, is I personally know when President visited China, and what the ABC News requested was set up a satellite to have a live video, live broadcast. The Chinese Communist Party regime requested either you do not set up the system in China, or you must sell this satellite system to us and also train us. Ever since that day, the Chinese Communist Party regime never stopped stealing high tech from this country and coerce the U.S. business. Also started to gradually infiltrate and corrupt our government officials. Like a Congressman Chris Smith pointed out, right after the Tiananmen massacre, people thought we would sanction on China. However, what the CCP regime received was President Clinton waived every year check on human rights activities and its realities connected to and linked to the trade status. So therefore, the Chinese Communist Party regime have been working hard to buy out and persuade our party, either Republican or Democrats, or whoever is our president or congressman or our senators. Their infiltration has never been stopped. We all must be waking up. In China, this dictatorship regime crashing down on democracy. In overseas, the goal of liberate the entire humanity, which means take over the world. This ambitious goal set by the Chinese CCP regime have never changed. Like my co-host, the owner of the program, we have understand the CCP infiltration is right over here in our home.
Yes, I agree, Jane. I agree that although we don't have live video footage or private investigator reports that the CCP is in America causing damage, it can be presumed, it's very fair to presume, this is a dangerous government. If you allow the agents of a dangerous government into your nation, it's just like letting the Trojans out of the belly of a Trojan horse. The example that I prefer to use is the silent invasion of former Ukrainian Crimea, which was invaded by plain uniform Russian soldiers in 2015. Now, these soldiers came in quietly. They didn't wear rank or insignia. They were known to be Russian. Shortly afterwards, Crimea, which formerly was part of Ukraine, fell to the Russian Federation. It was a silent act, however, it was still a very hostile act. The states that are currently infiltrated to levels that they could be removed from the United States are going to be all of the West Coast states, Washington, Oregon, California, and Jane has also told me the state of Michigan is highly infiltrated by the Communist Party, could also be divided from the United States at some point in the future, such as Ukrainian Crimea was divided from Ukraine.
Yes, the Chinese infiltration is everywhere. Also, the Chinese Communist Party regime have been using our business to work for them. Many business behind the scene is operated by the CCP regime. For example, the biggest invasion by the CCP regime right now to the United States and the world is pushing advertising and make us to use Zoom video program, the Zoom meeting, and also WeChat and TikTok and 360, those kind of a CCP spyware program. As long as you use it, the Chinese Communist Party regime collecting your data, your voice recognition, facial recognition, and your database between you, whoever talk, in that event, and you and your colleagues. And this is more and more clear. High-tech people using this, our state, our federal government, and our Republican Party, and the city, and the county, university, school district, institutes, all over the place using this CCP virus, CCP spyware Zoom meeting. This is very, very dangerous. We complain the CCP stealing high tech, but why do we use this kind of CCP spyware for our meetings, for our discussions, for our doctor appointment, and even courthouse record is fully accessed by the CCP regime? This kind of infiltration is everywhere, and we are in big danger of this country for information, for our database, for our people's privacy, and our relationships between each other.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you for informing America. This ends our recap of the June 6, 2021 Radio Liberty for Human Rights with Focus on China show. We'll be back. Please look for our future videos on YouTube and on the CDHRA website. I'm Matthew Melton with my esteemed co-host, Jane Shohong Jin. Thank you, and that's a wrap.
Thank you, and we hope you can visit us at www.freeourchina.com. Thank you.